featured speaker tonight is familiar to many of you who practice plein air painting, Craig Staufer, who has been creating oil paintings outdoors on site for many, many years. I first became aware of Craig's work when I saw an exhibit at the Wayne Arts Center in Worcester, and it's probably in the 80s,
Oh,
sometime
yeah.
in the 80s.
Wow.
And I was just so taken with the sensitivity and the masterful handling of his landscapes. And I have wanted to have him as a speaker for quite some time. So I'm so happy that I finally got him to do this. I wish it were in person, but you know, this is the next best thing. And I'm very happy that he's going to share his story and his beautiful artwork with us tonight. Thank you, Craig. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
All right. So, let's see. Got some things here. Spotlight video, I guess. All right. Can everybody see me? I guess they're lying. All I can see is everybody else. So, never done this before, but as you heard, I've been painting outdoors probably since the 1960s. Actually, just before people. But that's okay. It's just something that people do, right? So I thought about what could I do in 20 to 30 minutes, and especially in this format, I don't think I could actually do a demo or anything. I would not have the technical abilities to do that. So I was going to talk about some things that I've learned somewhat recently in the last, say, 3 or 4 years that have really helped me with my artwork. It's taken. I've learned these things. I've taken some workshops. One thing I believe is art is something you can never stop learning, ever. You can always learn something more. You can always get better. I truly believe that, until you just can't do it anymore. I guess you can always improve. And to that end, I do take classes for you back and forth here just for a minute. All really good things. And what they really pertain to, and this may sound maybe simplistic or something, but it's how to start a painting. There's a couple of key things that I've learned about starting a painting that have transformed my paintings to, I think, a little bit higher level. The finishing part actually seems to come easier if I make these steps first. So I'm just going to try to roughly go over them. And the first step is, well, you decide what it is you're going to paint or, create if you're going to draw, but this is probably more involved with painting than drawing, is you pick what it is you're going to do. You need to have a composition. Now, I think all of us as artists know you need a composition. You don't just put a barn right in the middle of the canvas and call it quits. You got to have things that make your eye flow through the page, different types of compositions. And one thing that's, most people should do, I would urge almost all artists to do it if you don't do it, is to do like maybe one or two thumbnail sketches before you get going on a big painting. Thumbnail sketches are, it's a good way to get where you're going without too much effort at the beginning. But one of the things I learned that I wanted to hit on was that thumbnail sketch can actually also become a value sketch. Value being an important part of a composition. So I have some little note cards here, and I hope I can hold these up and that it works out all right. Like here's okay. Can you all see that fairly good? Okay, I know everybody's muted, so I'm going to assume you can. But okay, good. So this is this is a thumbnail sketch, but I'm not worried about the details. I'll hold it up again. Not worried about the details here, but I'm worried about the basic composition and also the value, the light parts and the medium tone, the middle tones and the dark tones. And I have this in front of me as I actually start on the painting itself. I do this first, but I'm set up ready to paint. If I'm painting plein air, this is done. The very first step is to do this, and then I will tape this in front of my canvas so where I can see it. So when I'm laying out on the canvas, this is a guide for me, and I can show you a couple of examples of beginning to ending here. So I'll find that one here. This is actually a street in Seville. It'd be like Seville has a little triangular park in it, and I was in that park, and there's a house here behind the tree that is, I think, part of the historical society or right next to the historical society. So this is a thumbnail sketch of value, and then this is the painting values. So you can see maybe that I tried to maintain that little composition there of light and dark, the value, and carried it over to this little painting. This is probably an hour and a half, 2 hours of painting, but I had that value sketch first. I can show you a couple more examples, and then I'll show you what I used to make this, because I think that's something we'd all want to know. If you're outside, you know this was the first one we did on one of our Wednesday paint outs with Betty at they call this the Chippewa Trailhead, I think, the one on Route 42. And this is that the right one? Yeah, yeah. And this is the little barn there that's in the park. And so this was kind of a sunny day, so it was a lot lighter. I didn't have so much dark in here, but that's the value sketch. And then here's the finished product. I know it's probably moving around a lot, but you see I have a little thumbnail value that I'm working off of. And then I try to maintain that value is important, more important even than the colors, I think. So that's two examples. Dropped one on the floor. Here's another one of our Wednesday paint outs. I think it was called, I wrote on here, Crown Point Eco Center in Rich Hill Township or Bath Township. I didn't even know it existed, but it was a beautiful like farm and apparently a co-op or something. And this was just a scene across a field with a bunch of trees. So I just wanted to get the value composition, because sometimes you see a whole lot of trees and you might just get hung up on, well, there's that row of tree trunks and tree branches and stuff. So I want to just block this out and then come up with there's little, this one's a vertical composition, but you see again here, I got the darks and it's there. So that's a little bit of show and tell. And what I use here, I have a little cigar box that I carry the stuff around in. First thing I do, this is an ink pen that I got at a workshop. This guy put a little, it's probably like well, it's a ball. It's a white globe. When you're outside, it catches the sunlight and you can get your sunlight direction. So in a lot of these, I will note that. You see right there, that's showing there was a high angular sun and just a little bit of shadow in there. And other times of the day, but this is a pen. He's called himself the prolific painter. So prolificpainter.com is where he has, his name is Joshua Bean. I believe it's Bean. And then they got these Prismacolor pens that have grayscale on them. There's a 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, and pure black. Of course, white is the paper. But that's how I can just get the grayscale. And this is Prismacolor Premier. I got these at Blick Art, and it says French gray. And they have 2 points. They have you see, there's a fine point, and then on the other end is a much bigger. You can do more like brushwork or something. So those are the tools that I use to make those. I have 5 pens. 5 pens. I'm going to hold them up here. 20, 40, 60, 80, and black. And I use those to do my value sketch. And I found that to be just it was really helpful to me instead of just, drawing a thumbnail sketch in a sketchbook or something. And I didn't have those value pins. So I just have a thought in my head of how I was going to approach the values, if it's going to be a high key painting or a low key. But when I started using those felt pens with the color or the value gradation, it really helped me focus the whole composition before I started the painting. I had something to fall back to. So that's one thing that, you can take it or leave it, I'm sure, but I found it to be extremely helpful to get those value pens. Uh, like I said, they're at Blick Art. They're probably at any place that you buy art supplies. But I did find there's some variety. Most of the pen sets they want to sell you are color, but I don't really need color. I just want the black, the grayscale for value. Before I now I have a bit of a PowerPoint for my second part of my starting of the painting. But before I do, does anybody have a quick question? Is that okay if I ask for questions now about this value sketch? It's okay. I see Betty has a question.
I always have questions.
Right. All right.
I just have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's about your paints.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask that now?
Well, I'd probably wait till after, because the next step is where color gets in there.
All right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, this is the preliminary. This is the sketch part of the preliminary. So
Okay, I'll wait.
I will talk about my paints when we get there then.
Okay, I do.
Okay. Anybody else or? Okay, now I'm going to have to, I'm going to go to a PowerPoint that I tried to prepare, and I hope that this, I'm going to get this up, and if not, I'm going to be calling for Vince and crying, but, oh, I think I want to go to, oh, I know what it is. Open share tray. Oh, open share tray. Desktop. I see.
We got it. Very good.
I'm getting there.
Yep. No, we can see you though.
Okay, I gotta move this, but I gotta get to my PowerPoint here. My way, there we go. Okay. So Vince here's my presentation here. I just have a white screen.
Yes. The one thing, if you could move the or minimize the MCAL monthly membership at the bottom right hand corner of your screen.
Okay.
There should be a little, yeah. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need that. I do have a little laser pointer. Maybe I can play with that. Highlighter. We'll try that. Oh, not that color. No. We'll go with a red. Okay. So this is my Art League presentation. Now all I can see is my screen, so we're just gonna have to wing it. So obviously I'm starting with this one. It should be a scene familiar to a great deal of you. Obviously, it's the Exchange building. It used to be the Farmers Exchange. This is as it looks today. This is obviously a painting I made from a photograph. This isn't the painting, this is the photograph, but I want to show you what I'm starting with here. So let's say I've made my value sketch. Now I'm ready to get going. So what happens now, I have for years and years and years done underpainting or toned my canvas before I started painting, because when you look at it, you're looking at a white screen, it's kind of intimidating. So if I have a toned canvas, I find it a little easier. Say like here, maybe I just would wash it with blue or orange or any old thing. So the next thing that I learned, and this is what I wanted to kind of share with everybody, is that you can actually transpose that thumbnail value sketch to your underpainting and do a value underpainting, but it is not the colors of the actual painting. It's an underpainting totally, so I'll use warm colors. So the first step you do is make a quick sketch. This is a 9x12 canvas. You can see again, I really tried to simplify the lines. Here's like, I made a mistake. I erase it, just wipe it out, a little bit of that. But again, I'll show you back and forth here just for a minute. This was obviously a very high key scene. The sun was extremely bright. The background is bright. The building is bright, white. Everything's bright here. but there's a little bit of middle ground, and then there's a big contrast of dark here, here, here. Can you see my pointers? Can you see that, Vince?
Yes, we can
Okay,
see the
good.
highlighter.
Not a great, but it works. Okay, so anyway, so I go from that to just a quick knock out the basic structure lines of things. So then I go to the step of underpainting. You see, that's not the colors of that scene at all. There's no blue, there's, I mean, there is some orange in that building, but mostly this high key is actually about a 20 to 30% gray would be, but I'm using the color here as far as value. And then middle is about 50, and then dark is about 70. These are the darks. And what this is it took me a while to get a hold of this concept, but this leaves so much room for when you start throwing your paint in there that it's just amazing, because even this dark, if I see, that's a little bit darker there. If I start putting some really dark colors in here, it's going to get darker yet. I can get darker, or I can get pure white. You see a little bit of white showing through on a canvas, and that's my lightest light. I can still get lighter. So that's an underpainting of essentially 3 values. And the next step, this is actually the finished painting, but then I can just start slapping that painting on top of, or slapping the paint and the colors on top of that underpainting. So here you can see how much darker that got. And say here it was about a 70% dark, and here it's quite dark. Some of this is almost to black. There's almost white there, But see, it was a high key painting. I'm gonna have to just keep talking. It's kind of strange to look at my own thing and keep talking, but I'm going to try to power through it here as best I can. So, I'm gonna run through these one more time, just real quick, just to show you how it went. There's what I'm starting with, Medina Exchange Building, a little photo I took with my iPhone. Thank goodness these iPhones are extremely useful, I think, for painters. This is not plein air. This is done indoors, but it was also done quickly in the style of plein air. And then that's the finished product. Okay, so I'm going to show you another demonstration of the same technique. And this was actually, I'm glad to see Mark is here. This is the one I did when Mark had his Northeast Ohio plein air. This is, I guess it's called Wolf Creek Park. And this is Eastern Road. This is like the point where Medina County, Wayne County, and Summit County all come together, right in those trees right there. They all kind of meet. So this is called Eastern Road. It's facing west. The clouds are starting to move in, but you can see it's very, very sunny as I'm starting this painting. There's a lot of contrast because it's early in the morning and the shadows are very, very dark. So I made my value sketch and composition. And on this one, I apologize, but I did not take a painting of the line layout, but I have a picture of this is the value underpainting. Again, you'll see it is not the colors that I'm going for. There's a lot of green, yellow, blue, but this is strictly just the underpainting. This is a 16 by 18. This is plein air. You can see some of the grass and stuff in the background there. But I still have room to get darker or lighter. And this is actually a poor quality photo. These colors are a lot richer than that. And you'll see in the next painting. In this one here, I actually took some paintings of the stages as I went along. As I'm standing there painting, the clouds started coming more in. You can see this is actually the true underpainting right there. This is the 20 to 30%. This is the 50. And this is about the 70. So you can see I'm starting to add some darker colors here and darker there, a little lighter up here, white. And here's something. Now this barn had a white stripe on it, and if I would have not done this value sketch, I might have been tempted to paint that stripe white, but you'll see that this value sketch helped me to avoid that, where it's shaded. This is much more developed, not quite done, but now I really got the colors in, and you see I can go from, the layout and composition is there the whole time from the start. And that to me is what I found to be just incredibly helpful. Is it seems to take more time at the beginning. It makes the ending a little easier or hold together better. So, and then this is the finished painting. That I, again, this is, I'll run through these steps one more time. So there's the original scene. And again, if you're outside, this was probably from about 9 o'clock till noon. So the light did change, but I had my value sketch established for me. So when these shadows start moving, I didn't lose that in the painting because they're going to move. They will move in 3 hours time. The sky changes, the shadows change, but I had that. So then one more, this is my final, and this is, we were talking about Plain Air Peninsula. I have some pictures from what I did. This was 2 weeks ago at Hale Farm. I have a friend that actually works there. He's one of the, I guess, is head of restoration or something to that effect. And he got me in there on Friday morning. Beautiful sunny day. You can see how sunny it is. And this is a rather complex scene. If you look at it, there's this tractor, the wheels, the beams, the trees, the shadows, everything's pretty complex. So again, I had to do my value sketch, which I did. And I don't have that to show you because it's on the back of the painting. It's in Peninsula right now. But I was, as soon as I walked in past the visitor center, I saw this scene and I was attracted to it. So I thought I'd attempt to make it. And so here's my layout. It's a little more complex than some of the other ones I'd show with I try to have the perspective is rather important here in this. So I had to take a little time, make sure those wheels at least look somewhat correct. Then I go into this. This is the underpainting, just like all the other ones I talked about. There's 3 values: the dark, the middle, and the light. And so now I have my composition. Really, I can say, well, that's a painting right there. But anyways, I have this done, and then I can start putting the colors in on top of this. So I'll go from this right to the finished painting, I'm pretty sure. But that's so there's the finished painting. And this was done on location. So you see how much darker it gets than that underpainting right there. That's pretty dark, but I wanted that steam engine to be out front, so I made it quite dark, quite a bit of contrast, made the lights, see there's light and there's light, but that got even lighter still. You can go from 20% down to, 0 or whatever. It isn't, there's no really pure white, but pretty close to pure white in here. And so that's actually, I'll do this one more time too, just to remind you all. There's the original scene. And again, this is, I think actually 10 o'clock because they don't open till 10. So it's 10 o'clock, bright sun coming up behind me. And those are my steps. And so that is the, my PowerPoint. So I'm going to end the show now and try to go back to my face here or whatever. So, so now I want to get back to the meeting. Now, where did I go?
Go to the same place that you were, that you started the sharing. And
Yeah.
you should be able to, at the very bottom of your screen, you should have the teams.
There it is.
Click
There
that,
it is.
and then
There we
click
go.
the little box with the X. There you go.
I'm back. Am I back?
You're still sharing your screen. See the little box with the X?
Oh yeah. Got it.
There you go.
Okay.
Now we're back.
Am I back, Vince?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So I know that it was probably a lot to absorb because it took me a while to get some of that technique, but I thought I would try to share it with you all. And I guess at this point, then I'll take questions. How about that? So don't see any hands yet, but
Yep. Mark.
Oh, Betty was first.
Okay, Betty.
Okay, I have 3 questions, Craig.
all right.
Okay, the first one is, do you use a limited palette?
I do indeed. I do. I would say I probably use 5 colors in white.
Okay,
Yes.
and when you, after you do your underpainting,
Yes.
do you mix your paints up front or do you mix them as you go?
Well, I do mix them up front, and that is also something new. You know, I wasn't gonna that'd be taking it the next step, but I do that underpainting. I mix those up, but they're highly diluted with. I use Gamsol, like I'm using oil paints, but you know, if you're using acrylics or whatever, just you know, the underpainting is thin. It has to be thin because I start putting the paint on top of it right away. So in the case of oil paints, they're still wet. It's still wet, but I mix up the 3 tones I'm using for that underpainting value sketch, and then I mix up. I pick a color kind of, I guess, complementary color that I'm going to approach this painting with. Is it going to be a blue orange, you know, composition with an orange dominant or something? And I'll start mixing up some colors and some middle tones and some grays. But yes, I do start with 5 paints, and then I'll make little piles of other colors off of those 5. So.
All right, thank you.
Oh, okay. I thought
Mark,
that was that 2 questions or 3? What is that?
That was 3.
Oh, okay, great. All right.
Yeah, I was also going to ask how you choose your underpainting color. Is it based on the scene, the final scene?
Yeah. Well, that's a real good question. And I learned this technique from an artist, David Lussier, I believe his name is, or Lussier, Lussier. He's in New Hampshire. And I took a workshop with him, a virtual workshop, but I thought it was invaluable. And he says, you do warm colors. And I said, do you always do warm colors? He says, yes, if you always do warm colors. That tends to be kind of an ochre, yellow ochre, which I mix up from the primary colors that I use. And then I darken it with a sort of a red violet, lighten it with just white, you know, just tint it. And I might go a little towards purple if I'm going to go with like a yellow violet composition, or a little more of the orange if it's an orange blue, but stick kind of within that really warm color range. Does that did I explain that okay, or is it?
Well, you're saying your shadows and darks end up warm.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. In the underpainting is 100% warm in this technique. Yes. So yeah, even though like a lot of colors or even the background or the shadows would be tend toward the cooler colors, the blues and such, the underpainting itself is still warm, and then it seems to work pretty well. And then I can, in fact, I think it maybe brings out the contrast of the purples and blues and cool colors when you start putting them on top of that. So,
But do you seek to put the blues in your shadows, or you'd like to keep them that umber warm?
oh, well, no, when the final painting, I will go for the blues. Yes, I will put blues in there or purples or whatever I feel is appropriate. The underpainting though is warm, even the shadows in the dark areas.
any more questions?
It looks like Betty has another one. I see a hand.
No, she didn't
Oh.
erase her
Forgot.
hand.
Take my hand down. There you go.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions?
I'll ask, what are the 5
Yeah.
colors you use?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I use a cadmium yellow light, a viridian or red, and this is a new one. It's called dark matter. It'd be sort of like a little darker than alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, and phthalo green, and white, of course, titanium white. But I don't call titanium white as a color, but it's an essential part of your paints.
Did you say viridian red?
Viridian Madder, Madder. It is a red though. It's a red.
Dark matter and
Oh, dark.
viridian matter.
Oh, dark matter. I'm sorry. Let me.
So dark matter, but what was the viridian?
You know what? I'm confused now. I'm going to have to.
Vermilion?
Hmm?
Vermilion?
Well, there is. No, I used to use alizarin crimson, and I'm using this. Hang on, if you don't mind, I'll just grab my paint real quick. It's right over here. Just I can just grab it. I don't want to misspeak, so
Yeah, go for it.
yeah. There we go. Okay. So we have, cadmium yellow light. Permanent red light. And this is the one that I'm not remembering correctly, but it's permanent matter deep, Madder. It's like it's a very dark red. I don't know if we can catch that at all there or not, but it's pretty dark red.
I think I read that red matter was like a precursor to alizarin crimson, which is
Yeah.
fugitive.
And that sounds right to me because I used to use alizarin crimson and I see no problem with using it again. It's very similar. This is just a little actually warmer. Alizarin crimson tends to me, in my mind, a little more towards the purple, where this is a little warmer. And then of course ultramarine blue and viridian. So that's where I got mixed up, Mark, was with viridian is the green.
The phthalo green and viridian?
No, there is no phthalo green. It's viridian.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are the 5. So yellow, red, dark red, ultramarine blue, and viridian. And of course, titanium white.
So Carol, you had a question? Carol, turn your mic on.
That's helpful to turn the mic on.
Okay.
You said that you use Gamsol when you're doing your underpainting.
Yeah.
Do you use anything other than Gamsol with your paint?
Not now. No, I don't.
Okay,
I
so
don't.
it dries. So it dries pretty fast.
It helps to dry, and especially if you use a lot on the underpainting, thin it with the Gamsol, it will start drying pretty quick. So that the paint goes over thick. Paint laid on thick will just be its true color. It won't even blend much with the underpainting.
Gamsol doesn't have an odor, and that's why
Correct.
people
Yeah.
are using it.
I use Gamsol in my studio, but I
Okay.
wondered if that. So, and I'm not sure that you mentioned that your last painting that you showed was the one that won first place at the Peninsula Art Academy plein air competition.
That is correct. And the one prior to that was at Mark's Plein Air Festival in Northeast Ohio Plein Air Festival.
And that one
Actually won
first.
first. So there's 2 first place winners there.
Yes, you're so
And
modest.
the one with the Farmers Exchange hasn't been anywhere except home.
Well, that was nice to honor it with a painting because it's a landmark.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm not a plein air painter, and that makes it a little bit more accessible to me to maybe that I could maybe do it.
Yeah. Well, I also believe those techniques would be
Okay,
helpful. I think those techniques would work in studio just as well. And like the first one I showed was in the studio. It was,
Yeah.
I was indoors at home painting from a photograph, so I think you could use it as a portrait if you wanted, or.
Right. Yeah, I use Gamsol to underpaint, but it's just it's just a mystery to me, the whole plein air painting thing. It's just
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you do a thumbnail sketch first. You got
Yeah,
everything around you. You have 360 degrees around you. You have sky, you have birds, you have, wind, you have all this around you. It's easy to get overwhelmed or distracted. And you want to try to focus in. Everybody shows you how to do this, right?
yeah. Choices,
Right.
sure.
Zero in on a scene. I find it's not cheating, I don't think, but I find my smartphone is very helpful. I'll take a photo and then I can enlarge it or I can move it around a little bit to change the composition and before I even get started.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. It's a
That's
tool.
right.
It's here, I might as well use it, right? So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Great. Yes. Thank you.
So
Mhm.
did anybody have any other questions? Yes. Annette. Turn your mic on, please, Annette. Turn your mic on, please. We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Do you have any other work that you can show us?
Oh, I have a couple more paintings right here on my side, I guess, but let's see. Did these. Here's another one we did on the Wednesday paint outs. This was that place in Richfield, that Kirby Mill or whatever. I forget what they call this. Is one of their horse barns or something, but that was a day. It was about 90 degrees. Now we're standing in the shadows, but it was a beautiful sunny day, anyways. So there's one. So I have a whole pile of paintings over to the side, but I just
And I've seen them in private collections, so
Oh, yeah, great. I can't believe you saw that Worcester show. That is going back a long time.
yeah, that's the first time I saw your name, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to know who this guy is. This is
And most of that was actually plein air also. I approached the director with an idea of doing farms of Wayne and Medina County, and then I went out and painted them on location.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
got a couple of farmers in there as well too. So it was
Yes, it was a beautiful show.
yeah,
Beautiful show.
thank you.
It stayed in my memory for sure.
Yeah, great. I had a fun time making it.
Yeah, well, I admire all you plein air painters. Everybody out there who does plein air painting, I bow down to you.
So one more thing, Lori had written in that she forgot to mention that she needs a new spotlight artist. So if anybody who's on tonight or know of anybody who would like to be a spotlight artist on her Facebook page, please contact her. And she says a fabulous presentation. Thank you.
I have a question for Craig.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you ever use burnt umber?
Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I have other colors of paint, and especially if I'm working, say, in studio. But when I'm out in the field, generally I just take those 5. Once in a while, I might take a violet, but I don't know. Lately, I've been mixing the violets, just with the blue in this permanent matter or whatever stupid name, permanent matter deep, anyways, or alizarin crimson. Sometimes I'll bring a violet with me. I used to bring a what's that blue? Manganese blue that everybody likes to use. Manganese blue, but I've even been mixing that lately with just basically the Viridian ultramarine blue and white, and it looks much richer to me. So I kind of stopped bringing that one along too.
Okay.
I do find mixing all these old colors though go through a lot of yellow. Yellow is the weakest of other colors, even though it's strong in your painting. When you mix it with just a little touch of anything else, the other colors, the red or the green, whatever you're mixing it with, just overwhelms it. And so you got to have a lot of yellow. So I went out with a great big fat tube of yellow, one of those big ones like the white, yeah.
Yeah, if I can make a request of Craig, and if you've done this, Mark, certainly Yeah, you know, if you've worked on any of your paintings at home after we get home on Wednesday, you know, please send me an image of it so I can put it up on the Facebook. You know, Craig, maybe you want to send me your, you know, if you have an image of your winner from Peninsula.
Well, I do. Yeah. I do.
Well,
Yeah, I could send it to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't worked on any of the other ones from Wednesday. I've just done them and been kind of happy with them. So
why don't you send me the image, and then that'll be my final posting for this year. Will be, you know, like works in progress that have gone even farther.
mm-hmm.
And I would urge everybody to go to the Peninsula Art Academy Facebook page and watch Carrie Lewis's judging of the show
I agree.
and how she talks about each piece and why she chose each piece. That's very interesting. It's always good to hear how a judge chooses pieces, what they're looking for,
Yeah.
and a reminder that, you know, every judge is different and what they're looking for is not always the same thing, but it's very, you know, it's good to hear what they're thinking when they look at pieces.
And I would add to that's not always an option. Sometimes judges judge a show and then they leave, and then the show is presented. You know that you know
Right.
they might just write down a judge's statement in writing, but to actually hear them talk about it is, I think, more effective and
Yes, I agree.
informative. So,
It's valuable. It's really
yes.
valuable.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we will close the
Yeah,
meeting.
thank you.
And if anybody wants to stay on and talk with other members, fine. But thank you very much. And we will see you next month, I guess. Is that
Yes, one more month.
correct?
And then we have
Okay.
a break.
Thank
Okay.
you, Craig.
Recall who the presenter will be next month?
You know, I don't have it in front of me, and it's like escaping me, but it's on Facebook, it's in the newsletter,
Okay.
it's in the website, who the next presenter will be. But I'll
Okay.
make sure that it gets in the next newsletter.
Okay.
But I can't remember at the moment, you know.
Yeah, old
Yep.
age. What's your name?
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll blame it on
Thank
COVID,
you.
Carol.
Yes, it's the COVID brain, as they call it. I don't know. I just don't have that paper in front of me.
Mark, I'm glad you joined us tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, and Craig and
Well,
his
if you want to speak, you have to turn your mic on. So,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you, Ben. I'm glad you let me